Star Chosen Ones, March 29th. Stay alert. God is sending you a warning about a woman. There is a woman near you who seems perfect. She says the right words. She demonstrates affection at the right time. She appears to admire everything you are and everything you have built. But when you hang up the phone after speaking with her, when you end the conversation and are left alone with your thoughts, there is something that does not fit. A chill in the soul, an unease in the chest that you cannot name. It is not jealousy. It is not insecurity. It is not fussiness. It is a warning. And this warning does not come from your head. It comes from a much deeper place. God is trying to tell you something about this woman, and if you ignore this sign, the price you will pay is not a broken heart. It is the deviation from the purpose that is being built within you at this very moment. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what I am going to reveal to you can literally save the next season of your life. Before anything else, I need to be very clear with you. This video is not about hatred toward women. It is not about generalized distrust. It is not about treating every woman who approaches you as a threat. That would be unhealthy and contrary to everything the gospel teaches. What I am going to show you here is how to discern, with spiritual and emotional intelligence, the difference between a woman who was sent to add to your journey and a woman who consciously or unconsciously functions as an instrument of deviation at the most critical moment of your trajectory. Because there is a brutal difference between the two, and confusing one with the other is one of the most expensive mistakes a man called by God can make. Now let us get to what is happening to you, because if you clicked on this video, something inside you already recognized the situation even before I described it. There is a woman in your life, or who recently entered it, who occupies a disproportionate space in your thoughts. She is not necessarily a girlfriend or a wife. She could be a friend, a colleague, someone who appeared suddenly with an intense proximity that seemed all too natural. Her messages are frequent. Her attention is constant. She laughs at your jokes, values your achievements, shows genuine interest in what you think and feel. And all of this is wonderful, except for one detail that your mind tries to ignore, but your spirit refuses to silence. After every interaction with her, you do not feel lighter. You feel more confused, not stronger, more drained, not more focused, more dispersed. It is subtle. It is almost imperceptible, but it is there. And if I am describing exactly what you are experiencing, it is because this is not generic. It is a spiritual pattern that repeats in the life of every man who is about to enter a new season of purpose. And you need to understand why. A study from the University of São Paulo, USP, in the Department of Experimental Psychology, identified a phenomenon that researchers called subtle emotional vampirism. Unlike open manipulation, where the person attacks, controls, and blackmails in a visible way, subtle vampirism operates through an excess of positive presence. The person practicing this pattern does not attack you. They sweeten you. They do not assault you. They involve you. And the result, proven in cortisol analysis and sleep patterns of the study participants, is that the victim of this type of relationship shows signs of emotional exhaustion without being able to identify the cause, precisely because the source of the exhaustion is disguised as affection. The brain receives contradictory signals. The interaction seems good, but the body reacts as if it were under threat. It is exactly this conflict between what the mind perceives and what the body feels that generates that nameless unease you are experiencing. Now I am going to take you to a deeper layer, because science explains the mechanism, but it does not explain the purpose behind what is happening. And it is in the purpose where things get truly serious. In the Bible, there is a pattern that repeats with frightening precision. Every time God is about to raise a man to a new level of purpose, an unaligned woman appears in his path, not by chance, by design. And I will show you the evidence. Samson, the strongest man who ever walked the earth according to the biblical account, chosen before birth, set apart by God for a specific purpose, to deliver Israel from the Philistines. Samson's power was supernatural. No one could defeat him by force. No army, no warrior, no weapon. But a woman named Delilah did what no army could achieve, and she did not do it by force. She did it through subtlety, through affection, through insistence disguised as care. The biblical text says that Delilah pressed Samson every day with her words and troubled him. Notice the method. Words. Not weapons, not violence. Words. Daily. Constant. Until his soul was vexed unto death. This expression in the original Hebrew is devastating. The word used for vexed or tired is katsar, which means to shorten, to diminish, to be out of breath. Samson's soul was literally shortened, diminished, emptied, not by a battle but by a repeated conversation. And when his soul became too small to resist, he gave up the secret of his strength, and he lost everything. If this made you think of a situation in your own life, pay attention to what I will say next, because this is the part that changes the game. Samson's mistake was not loving a woman. To love is not a sin. Samson's mistake was confusing attraction with alignment. Delilah was attractive, she was engaging, she was present, but she was not aligned with his purpose. On the contrary, she was aligned with the purpose of his enemies, and this is the most dangerous distinction that exists. Not every person who wishes you well does you well. Not every person who demonstrates affection is aligned with your destiny, and your ability to discern the difference between attraction and alignment can be the thing that separates the greatest victory from the greatest defeat of your life. If this channel has been an instrument of clarity in your walk, subscribe now and activate the notification bell, because the next few minutes of this video contain a level of revelation that you do not find just anywhere, and he who is chosen needs to be positioned to receive the word at the exact moment. Now I need to show you the root cause of why you are vulnerable to this type of situation, and this will require brutal honesty on your part. You are vulnerable not because you are weak. You are vulnerable because you are good. It seems contradictory, but it is the pure truth. There is within you a genuine compassion, a capacity to care, to welcome, to take responsibility for the emotional well-being of the people around you. And this quality, which is one of your greatest gifts, is also the door through which the greatest danger enters. Brazilian men over 35, especially those raised in homes where the maternal figure suffered or was emotionally neglected, develop what psychologists at Pucci Rio call the affective rescue pattern. It is an unconscious programming that makes you feel responsible for saving, fixing, or healing women who demonstrate emotional vulnerability, not because they asked you to, but because something inside you, recorded since childhood, associates love with the act of rescuing. You learned, without anyone teaching you with words, that to be loved, you need to be necessary. And this belief, which seems noble on the surface, creates a deadly trap. You become incapable of distinguishing between a woman who needs genuine help and a woman who uses your need to help as a tool for control. Pay attention to the cycles. Every relationship of this type follows a predictable pattern that behavioral psychology has documented for decades. First comes the enchantment. Everything is intense, beautiful, magical. She makes you feel special, unique, indispensable. Then comes the tension. Something changes. The mood fluctuates. Subtle demands arise. You feel you need to prove something that was previously taken for granted. Then comes the reconciliation. Apologies, promises of change, moments of tenderness that make you doubt your own perceptions, and then the cycle begins again. Enchantment, tension, reconciliation, enchantment, tension, reconciliation. And with each turn of this cycle, you lose a piece of yourself without realizing it. IBGE data on emotional dependency relationships in Brazil show that men between 35 and 55 are the group that takes the longest to recognize they are trapped in a toxic relational pattern. On average, it takes between 4 and 7 years to identify the cycle, not because they are less intelligent, but because Brazilian culture taught these men that questioning a relationship with a woman is a sign of weakness, lack of patience, or an inability to truly love. So they endure and they endure and they endure until the damage is already done. Leave your like on this video now, not for me, but because this subject is a taboo that needs to be broken. Thousands of men are living this situation in silence, thinking they are the only ones, thinking they are crazy for feeling what they feel. And your like helps this message find those who need it. Now comes the most delicate part of this entire video. How do you identify with clarity if the woman in your life or who is entering it is a blessing or a deviation? I will give you 4 spiritual and practical signs that function as a precise diagnosis, and I ask for total honesty with yourself as you evaluate each one of them. The first sign is the test of fruit. Jesus said a phrase that is simple on the surface, but devastating in application. By their fruits you shall know them, not by words, not by declared intentions, not by gifts, affectionate messages or promises, by the fruits. So look at your life since this woman entered it or since the proximity with her intensified. Are you more focused or more dispersed? More at peace or more anxious? Closer to God and your purpose or more distant? Has your productivity improved or worsened? Is your sleep better or worse? Have your other relationships with family, friends, with God strengthened or weakened? Do not answer with what you want to be true. Answer with what is true. Because fruits do not lie. Words lie. Intentions can be disguised. But fruits are the evidence that no manipulation can fabricate. The second sign is the reaction to boundaries, and this is perhaps the most revealing of all. When you establish a healthy boundary, such as saying you need time alone, that you need to focus on work, that you cannot be available at that moment, how does she react? A woman aligned with your purpose understands, she respects, she gives you space and uses that space to take care of her own life. An unaligned woman reacts with frustration, with guilt, with victimhood. She transforms your boundary into abandonment, your space into rejection, your legitimate need into proof that you do not care. And the most dangerous part, she does this in such a subtle way that you end up feeling guilty for having established the boundary. You apologize for something that was your right, and in that moment, without realizing it, you handed over control. The Hebrew word that describes this type of dynamic is pethi. Pethi appears several times in the book of Proverbs and is generally translated as simple or naive, but the original meaning is much more specific. Pethi comes from the root patha, which means to open, in the sense of being seduced, being persuaded to open what should remain closed. The pethi is not a fool. He is someone with an open heart who, precisely because he has an open heart, becomes vulnerable to those who know how to use words with surgical precision. Proverbs does not condemn the pethi for being good. It warns the pethi to learn to use discernment as a shield, without losing goodness as an essence. And this is the balance you need to find now. The third sign is the role reversal. In every healthy relationship there is reciprocity. You care and are cared for. You listen and are listened to. You sacrifice and perceive that the other also sacrifices for you. But in the relationship God is warning you about, there is a progressive reversal. In the beginning, she gave as much as she received, but over time you noticed the flow changed. You are the one who sustains emotionally. You are the one who calms. You are the one who yields. You are the one who forgives. You are the one who postpones your own plans to resolve her crises. And when you need something, when you are vulnerable, when it is your turn to be cared for, she is unavailable, or worse, she transforms your moment of need into another moment about her. Researchers at UNIFESP, in studies on asymmetric relationship dynamics, identified that this pattern of role reversal is one of the main predictors of chronic emotional burnout in adult men. The study showed that men living in relationships with emotional investment asymmetry for more than 2 years present cortisol levels comparable to professionals in high-stress work environments. In other words, your body is reacting to this relationship as if you were living under extreme professional pressure. And you do not even notice because you associated the tiredness you feel with life in general, when in fact the source is much more specific than you imagine. The fourth sign is gradual isolation. And this is the sign that confirms everything. Look around. Since this relationship gained intensity, have your other connections diminished? Do you see your friends less? Do you talk to your family less? Do you frequent the spaces that fed you spiritually less? This withdrawal is rarely abrupt. It is gradual, subtle, almost imperceptible. She does not forbid you from seeing people, but she creates situations where choosing others means, in some way, neglecting her. And because you do not want conflict, because you do not want her to feel rejected, you start giving in. A meeting here, an event there, a call you stop making. And when you realize it, your world has shrunk to the size of the attention she demands. In the Bible, this pattern is portrayed with surgical precision in the story of King Ahab and Jezebel. Ahab was king of Israel, but the one who truly governed was Jezebel. She did not take the throne by force. She took it through influence. She molded his decisions. She isolated him from the prophetic voices that could correct him. She eliminated one by one the connections that kept Ahab aligned with his original purpose. And when the isolation was complete, Ahab became a shadow of himself, a king with a crown but without authority, a man with power but without his own will. And the question I ask you now is not if you are living this. The question is, to what extent will you allow this to continue? Write the word discernment in the comments. Write it as a declaration, as a prayer. You are asking God to open your eyes to see what your emotion has hidden from you. Write discernment and then continue watching, because the solution I'm going to give you now is the part that will equip you to act. The solution is not hatred. It is not revenge. It is not treating this woman as an enemy. The solution is a word that, in the spiritual context, has a depth that most people do not know: separation. And I am not necessarily talking about ending a relationship. I am talking about separating within yourself what is legitimate compassion from what is emotional dependency disguised as love. The Hebrew word for separation in the biblical context is badal. Badal is the same word used in Genesis when God separated the light from the darkness. Note that God did not destroy the darkness. He separated it. He put each thing in its place. He defined limits. He established boundaries. And that is what you need to do, not destroy. Separate. Put each thing in the place where it belongs. Define where your emotional responsibility ends and where her responsibility over her own life begins. I will give you the practical steps, because revelation without action is just wasted information. First step, name the pattern. As long as you do not name what you are living, you cannot face it. Call it by its name. Say to yourself out loud, if necessary, I am in a relationship that consumes more than it feeds. I am confusing compassion with obligation. I am allowing someone to occupy the place that should be occupied by my purpose. Naming is not condemning. It is clarifying. And clarity is the first step toward any real change. Second step, re-establish boundaries without guilt. This is the hardest part because the effective rescue pattern I mentioned earlier will scream inside you. It will tell you that you are being selfish. It will tell you that she needs you. It will tell you that you are abandoning someone who loves you. But listen, you are no one's savior. There is only one Savior, and He does not need your help to take care of another person. Your role is to be faithful to the purpose that was placed in you. And any relationship that pulls you away from that purpose, no matter how beautiful it seems, is functioning against you. Third step, reconnect with the voices that were silenced. Remember the people who drifted away or whom you drifted away from, the friends who brought you peace, the family that gave you a foundation, the spiritual environment that nurtured you. Go back, not out of pride, not out of desperation, but out of the awareness that isolation is the enemy's oldest strategy. When the lion attacks, he does not attack the herd. He isolates one animal and attacks the animal alone. If you are isolated, you are vulnerable. Reconnecting is an act of spiritual protection. Fourth step, allow God to bring the right person at the right time. And this step requires something that anxiety does not accept: patience. I know you want to be loved. I know loneliness is heavy. I know there is within you a legitimate desire to have someone by your side. And this desire was placed there by God. It is not a sin, it is not a weakness, it is human. But there is a difference between a desire being fulfilled by God and a desire being hijacked by haste. The right woman will not consume you. She will complete you. She will not pull you away from your purpose, she will push you toward it. She will not demand that you prove your love by abandoning the other areas of your life. She will celebrate the fact that you have a life beyond her. Proverbs says that he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. The word finds in Hebrew is matzah, and matzah does not describe a desperate search. It describes an encounter that happens while you are walking in your purpose. You do not find matzah when you search frantically. You find it when you are positioned in the right place, doing the right thing, aligned with the right plan. The woman God prepared for you does not need to be hunted. She needs to be recognized, and you will only recognize her when your eyes are clean from the confusion that the wrong woman planted. A study published by FGV in partnership with the Oswaldo Cruz Foundation analyzed more than 2,000 Brazilian men between 35 and 60 years old who reported having left emotionally draining relationships. The most surprising data was that, on average, within 18 to 24 months after ending the toxic relationship and reconnecting with emotional and spiritual support networks, 82% of these men reported having found significantly healthier and more balanced relationships. Not because they became different people, but because, free from the pattern of emotional vampirism, they could finally attract and recognize someone aligned with who they truly are. I will leave you with one last truth that I want to be engraved in your mind. God did not warn you about this woman because He hates you. He warned you because He loves you. He did not show you this video to scare you. He showed it to protect you. And divine protection does not always come in the form of walls and shields. Sometimes divine protection comes in the form of revelation, of seeing what was previously hidden, of seeing clearly what emotion blurred. Psalm 91 says that God covers you with His feathers, and under His wings you find refuge. The image is of an eagle protecting its chicks, but what few people know is that the eagle does not protect the chicks only by covering them. She protects them by teaching them to fly. She takes the chick up high and lets go. The chick falls, and before hitting the ground, the eagle dives and rescues it, and repeats, until the chick learns to fly alone. God is not protecting you to keep you weak and dependent. He is protecting you while teaching you to discern, so that next time you fly alone. So that next time when a woman approaches, you know, with the security of the spirit and not with the confusion of emotion, whether she is a blessing or a deviation. Share this video now with a man you know needs to hear this, that friend who is visibly trapped in a situation he cannot name, that brother who has changed since a certain person entered his life. Your sharing is not an empty gesture. It is an act of brotherly love that can prevent someone from losing years, energy, and purpose in something that was not ordained by God. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell, because in the next video, I will reveal to you how to recognize the woman God truly prepared for you, the unmistakable signs of a connection that is ordained and not manufactured. And I tell you, the difference between the two will surprise you in a way you do not expect. God warned you, you heard. Now the decision is yours, and heaven is watching what you will do with this revelation.